Okay, this is the Tally Tales podcast. We have Craig Stubbs, practitioner of Feldenkrais, local Tallahassee native massage therapist and go-kart race car enthusiast.
Yes.
And so, Craig, first question I wanted to ask you is let's get right to the meat of Feldenkrais. Who was Moses Feldenkrais, and how did he develop this technique? And I know he was a contemporary of Wilhelm Reich, the Oregon accumulator guy who got persecuted for his views and his mind-body. So, if you would talk briefly about him and somatic healing in general.
Yes. So Moshe Feldenkrais was born in around 1904 over near what's now the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And when he was a teenager, he migrated to what became Israel and helped create and build that country. He was an engineer, became an engineer. He ended up going to France to study, and then went back to Israel. And as a child, he played soccer. Teenager, played soccer, and he injured his knees. And back in those days, knee surgery was kind of like a sentence that you would never walk again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't want to have surgery, and he decided that he would cure himself. And he did these exercises and movements and developed a method to heal his knees. And that he taught himself how to function around his dysfunction.
Right.
And so that's what he did. And then he had people come to him and say, hey, can you do that for me?
Right,
and
right.
And then he
on any part of the body.
On any part of the body, yes.
Right.
And it's not just in the body, because it's in attitude and mind and how you developing an awareness of how you do what you do.
Right. And I had Craig work on me after a car accident, and he did Feldenkrais quite a number of times. And there's very gentle movement, and apparently, and he can tell you more, and I'll ask him to explain how he decides the next place he touches you is based on the way your muscles react to the first time he touched you. And he worked out at the Abundance Wellness Center.
Yeah.
And if you talk a little bit about that, and our good buddy Ryan used to jokingly say, why don't you just get him to text you massage? Because there's such gentle touch that it seemingly nothing was going on till I got off the table, and then I felt a lot more centered and relaxed and aware of my surroundings.
Yeah, so there are basically two parts to the Feldenkrais method. One is awareness through movement, and that is that's where the practitioner will it's like a class setting, like yoga or Pilates. You have a group of people, and the instructor, he or she, will give direction, and the movements are all very gentle, easy, and you do it to just what's comfortable. Then there's a second part, which is a hands-on part, which is called functional integration. A one-on-one where there's a person on the table, and so what I do is I look for where there is ease of movement, and then we work within that little framework of ease and gradually work out from that and get.
I'm sorry. How would you describe what by ease of movement? What do you mean? No twitching
So what I do is I watch. I look at what's going on with the person. I may push on your ribs on the right side, push on the ribs on the left side. See which way your body will move, or lift one arm or lift the other arm, which arm is easiest. And then I take that part of you that works well and work with that, and then begin to expand out to the other areas. And it's basically a conversation between my body and your body, because I'm touching you, I'm holding on to you, and moving you about. And where you move easily, that's where I go. And my body feels what your body's doing, your body feels what my body's doing, and so it's kind of a conversation back and forth between us. And so what ends up happening is, in this movement and this ease and this gentleness, it gives the person on the table a sense of accomplishment. And in that sense of accomplishment, they begin to feel confidence, they begin to feel secure, and they begin to feel better.
Right, because we all know the placebo effect, for example, has a very dramatic effect on actual physical health and physical changes
Absolutely.
in the body. Are you familiar with entrainment?
Yes.
Yeah, and so Feldenkrais is sort of like entrainment. I know Jonathan Goldman, who developed sound healing, they've taken kidneys that are misfunctioning, and they're vibrating at a certain frequency and tone. Then they inject into it the proper frequency of a normally functioning kidney, and all of a sudden, the dysfunctional kidney, instead of having to be removed or operated on, is simply, it decides, oh, wait a minute, cool, that's the way I'm supposed to be vibrated.
And it gets
they
in
heal
resonance.
themselves. So that's very interesting. And Feldenkrais is one of those methods of healing yourself. Your body's a miraculous machine.
Absolutely.
There's a reason for Western medicine and intervention, but I think only when you've had something that some force applied to your physical being that caused trauma.
Yes.
As opposed to some force from within, which is where most of our trauma and our disease comes from, whatever we put in our body.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Abundance Wellness Center out.
So Abundance Wellness Center was formed actually 16 years ago this year. Linda McHugh started the center and still runs it today. They had a little difficulty with the rains last week.
There's many.
And but it is a center for wellness, and there are yoga classes, there are Pilates classes. Right now, I think there are probably 12 massage therapists there now.
That many?
There's mental health counseling there. It's just a really full service wellness center. I'm not working out of there anymore. I retired back in 2020 for a couple of years, and but then decided I really missed the work. And
Yeah, of course.
came back, and now I'm over off of Appalachia Parkway. But
Really?
Abundance Wellness Center is a really fantastic place.
Yeah, and you actually performed some ayahuasca sessions through the Abundance Wellness Center. Was that?
It wasn't really through.
You were just working there at the time.
I was working there at the
I know
time.
you mentioned that to me when I was on the table.
I've been to a few of those ceremonies.
And what did you get from the ceremonies?
What did I get from ayahuasca is beyond words, really.
Yeah.
So, my daughter became ill back in maybe 2005, something like that. She developed leukemia. And it was shortly after that I found a local connection for ayahuasca and started going there, and really going to those ceremonies a few times a year for many years, even after my daughter passed.
When did she pass?
She passed in 2012.
Yeah, because I remember you were working on me at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said she had pretty much lost the will to live.
She lost.
Which tells you more, strengthens more what you were saying earlier about you feel good about yourself, so you start to heal yourself.
Yeah. So the ayahuasca just taught me. Hey, it taught me that there are different places than here. There are other realms, and what we experience right here in this world is nothing compared to what else is out there.
Right. I think we've all had inklings or glimmers of that, you know. And when you first wake up, for example, you tend to be in the state of high awareness. It doesn't take you long for the programming to kick in, and you become, you know. I healed my vision. The first thing I did when I woke up every morning was look for my glasses. I could not function without my glasses. And old girlfriend Lindsay gave me a look, take off your glasses and see.
Yeah.
And I followed the routines and the practices, and now my vision's pretty damn close to 20/20. My left eye is pretty much 20/20. I haven't tested it, but I could tell by how I could read. I couldn't make out anything hardly I certainly couldn't look at the television. And so, yeah, I'm a firm believer in the power of the mind over the body to heal.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, Craig, another funny, interesting, and lighter topic. You know, we both lost our daughters. That's pretty heavy duty. But another way that you deal with probably stress or have fun is racing go-karts. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so right after Christine passed away, I needed a diversion. And so for my birthday, I guess it was February of 2013.
When's your birthday?
February 16th.
Okay, Bella's, okay.
Yeah.
Bella's the 15th.
Yeah.
Mine's the 24th.
Yeah, we're all
My
good.
brother
good
was
Aquarians.
February 16th. I'm Pisces. My brother's February 16th.
right.
Yeah,
Cool.
and Bella's grandmother was February 16th. Bella was February 15th.
Yeah, my
Luke is
uncle.
February 2nd.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I needed a diversion, and so Jackie took me out to she had heard there was a racetrack out in Monticello.
Yeah. Well, you had raced previously?
I had raced previously. I was always interested in cars and race cars. I'd run autocross Solo 2 for SCCA and stuff like that.
Right.
These are 125cc carts, and they run at the Monticello track about 70.
Wow.
Race over in
70
Jacksonville.
miles an hour in a go-kart?
Yeah.
So it feels like you're going 150.
So people think, this is wild and crazy, but what it is a lesson in concentration.
And focus, yeah.
And focus.
Yeah.
That's right.
Without that, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Well, what do you take any precautions in case, like a helmet?
Oh yeah, we wear a helmet, a neck brace, full race suit, rib protection, and gloves.
Have you had any wrecks of any consequence?
I did. In 2019, I backed the cart into a tire barrier, went backwards and hurt my neck, and it still hurts today, as a matter of fact.
Those neck stretchers, man. Come on.
I've been doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe I need another ayahuasca journey.
There you go. Or find another Feldenkrais practitioner.
Yeah, and there are none around
I
here.
have found myself over the last several years of doing. There's one guy I met that does Feldenkrais. Yeah, I don't know if he's still in town. I met him in a coffee shop, but I'll investigate. But you can go online and look. But I have used some of the same techniques I've learned on myself. And in the last few years, I've done a lot of self-massage.
Oh, absolutely.
I had neuropathy to the point where I couldn't feel any of my body. And yeah, I'm doing pretty good right now.
Well, that doesn't say much for the work I did on you.
No. Well, I developed it while you were working on me, oddly enough.
I remember
He
that.
was probably busy undoing what you were
It
doing.
was because of abuse, not because of,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. For Feldenkrais?
Right.
You still teaching classes, Craig?
I do not teach. When I retired the first time in 2020, I dropped the classes and I just haven't picked them back up
It's
yet.
like the Grateful Dead and Fish. They say they're quitting.
Yeah.
They can't stop the train. It's too
Right.
intense.
Yeah.
So where are you practicing now?
Right now, I'm over off of, there's a little office complex called Cedar Center, and there are a couple massage places in there, and chiropractic and stuff like that.
Where
And
is this on Appalachia and what?
so if you go Appalachia toward Target, off to the right is Paul Russell Road.
Yeah.
Yep. Turn right on Paul Russell Road, and the second driveway to the right is Cedar Center Drive.
Okay.
And our office is
And you're
right
still
there.
practicing Feldenkrais?
I do Feldenkrais, I do craniosacral therapy, and a little bit of massage.
Okay. Craniosacral therapy is interesting. I remember my dad, who was he was not real hip with any kind of Western medicine. He was more, of believer in the body's ability to heal itself, and didn't think that modern medicine had, much worthiness to him. So he would take us to an osteopath when we were kids and did craniosacral therapy. Doctor, I can't remember his name, but I do remember he worked at the Rosemary Center in Thomasville. I remember the building burning down to the ground. So that's he was a wonderful old man.
Yeah.
And anytime we had anything wrong, we'd go in there and he'd mess with our heads, and we'd feel a lot better when we left. So
Yeah, it's
so
an
you do
interesting
craniosacral,
modality.
and
Yeah.
do you work on any people that are very damaged? I mean, everybody's been down, but you know what I mean, people that have a hard time functioning.
I have in the past. Right now, my client load's kind of light, and I don't. So, like, the worst right now is a couple of little old ladies that have neck problems and osteoporosis and things like that. Yeah. And they're toward the end of their life. I don't see them changing very much. There are a couple of people that come to me now that are younger and probably in their 30s, some that have had significant trauma, and they really enjoy so sometimes I will do a combination of craniosacral and the Feldenkrais.
Right.
They're both very similar in direction of ease, light work. It works very much within the person as well as with their muscles. And these people really benefit from that gentle, energetic, and light work.
What's your favorite muscle?
My favorite muscle, the brain. The brain.
The brain.
I thought you might say the heart.
Well, the heart too.
I don't know if the brain could be considered a muscle.
It is a muscle.
Is it a muscle?
It is a
But I
muscle.
know it's the sexiest organ. Any female that I know. But it's interesting because that scientists, of course, they found another brain in your gut, the gut biome, which contributes to your overall well-being, both mentally and physically. And more recently, they've discovered a third brain in the human body, in the heart.
Yeah.
And when you think from that brain, you always make the compassionate, empathetic decision.
Yes.
And I think that's something that probably Feldenkrais and craniosacral therapy do, is to move you more towards the ability to access your heart brain.
Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about craniosacral therapy.
Yeah,
What do you do? How do you touch Steve or show us how it's done?
Craniosacral therapy, it deals with, on a physical level, it deals with the lining around the brain, the meninges. It deals with the production and absorption of craniosacral fluid and the rhythm that is created there, and with the connective tissue of the body. And so if you have an injury or some trauma, the thought is that there are restrictions applied to the connective tissues.
Right.
And so by using these rhythms, you can find the restriction and then release the restrictions.
Have you just curious, are there any techniques in craniosacral that release the fluids from the pineal gland, which
So I really
Pinocchio.
don't know. My educational training with what affects what ended probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And people have just, some people specialize in the brain, some people specialize in the meninges, some people specialize in all of these there are different kinds of craniosacral therapy. There's biodynamic craniosacral therapy, there's the traditional upledger, and just so many different directions people have gone.
There'll be a quantum sacral
Yes,
therapy before we
and
know it.
so what I do is, so I use my heart muscle and my brain, and I just try to find that place in someone, and it may not be a physical place. It may be an emotional or an auric or energetic place, and that's what I work with.
And how do you work with the difference? The
between
energetic versus the auric versus the physical. What's your
It's
approach
just
now?
intention, and so I could work with the dog and put my hands on the dog. Yes, she's
reacts.
listening.
She says, "My name is Akasha, the sky dog."
and so it's what you feel, it's what you encounter and what my intuition tells me to do and where to go.
It's like deep listening.
It is like
Yeah.
deep listening.
Yeah.
And what kind of training did you go through to become a practitioner of Feldenkrais?
Okay, a Feldenkrais.
Yeah.
I went to a class up in Baltimore, Maryland. I started in 2000 and let's see, when did I start? 2006. And I would go up to, my brother lives in Baltimore. He called me one day and he said, "Craig, you need to come up here and come to a class. It's the craziest thing I've ever been to." I said, "Yeah, okay, well, when are we going to do this?" He said, "This weekend." And this was like a Wednesday. Nah, I can't do it.
Older brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He said, "Okay, well, next month. They're doing another one next month." So I went up the next month and I went to the class. It was a school gymnasium. And there were probably about 70 or 75 people in there. They were all lying on these moving mats, you wrap things with me. And this guy came in and he started saying, "Now, so just lie on your back. And as you lie on your back, just notice, how do you meet the floor? Where do you touch? Where do you not touch? Where are you comfortable? Where are you not comfortable?" And he went through this guided tour of our body, each and every one of us. And I think that lesson actually was one on turning your head and your shoulders. And so I left 6 hours later feeling fantastic, And then we went back the next day and did another lesson for 5 hours, 6 hours. And I thought, yeah, this is fantastic. I would love to do this. And so they offered a training program, and it was about $7,000 for the first year, and it was a 4-year program. And I would have to go up there once every 5 or 6 weeks, stay for a week, and then, come back home and then go back many times during the year, every 5 or 6 weeks. So it was a big commitment. I didn't have the money. And my brother said, "Look, if you'll take this class, I'll pay for your transportation. You can stay at my house. You can borrow a car and go to the class. I'll pay your tuition." That's a deal. He said, if you will just work on the family.
Right.
Oh, well, heck yeah.
You
And
you
so
can't turn that
for
down.
4 years, that's what I did. I would every 6 weeks go up there. I think during the summer there was like a 2-week class instead of just 5 days. And So it was a big commitment for him, big commitment for me, because I'm away from home, away from my family. My daughter was becoming sick at that time, and so I was traveling a lot between Tallahassee and Baltimore and Houston, because she was going to get treatment out in Houston. And it was 4 years of that, and just back and forth, back and forth. But that in itself, being able to not be just immersed in life every day here in Tallahassee, and being able to escape and go up and be in a world of other future Feldenkrais practitioners, where the mindset is completely different than here in Tallahassee. It was a fantastic experience.
It's probably a welcome relief. Yeah.
It was, absolutely. It was tiring after the fourth year, and Christine failing to recover. And so, yeah, it got to be really, really tiring.
Yeah.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
I remember back when you were working on me, several times you had to go up to get retrained, or to,
Yep.
in order to keep your certification, you had to go to
Yes.
Chicago one time, it seems like, Atlanta.
Yeah,
maybe.
I went to Atlanta. I went to the Carolinas. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep your
Their trainings.
So,
So
you
these-
always came out to Tallahassee, fortunately.
Yeah.
And so if you have something that you wanted to put it in.
No, I was just going to say, Feldenkrais is worldwide. I mean,
Yeah.
he developed it in Israel, and there are training classes all through Europe. There are training classes in Japan, China, everywhere.
There's some great TED Talks on YouTube that you can look at about Feldenkrais. I
Yes.
saw one, a little kid who couldn't move his leg to the right after just a few minutes of Feldenkrais. The kid all of a sudden could move his leg
Yeah.
to the right. And it's really interesting stuff. And there's several different videos that will espouse the wonderful benefits to Feldenkrais. And so, Craig, you were in Tallahassee. Your brother's still in Baltimore? He's still with us?
Yeah, John he actually lives in Annapolis,
Okay.
and he's still with us. He's
Close to Babylon up there.
Yeah, he's 15 years older than I am.
Wow.
And
what a spread.
yeah, and then I have two brothers here in Tallahassee.
Wow. So, family of four, there's four bros. No
Yeah, I have
sister?
one brother who passed away in 2020. He died the day after my mother died.
And your mom lived to be over 100 years old. I
She
remember
lived
was
to be almost 103. Yeah.
And your dad?
My dad was 92. Yeah,
That's some good genes.
yeah, I hope so.
Well, as science uncovers more mysteries, the genes aren't as important as people thought. You're not. If you have a certain disease that's been in your family, doesn't mean you're going to get it.
That's
There's
true.
a way to
Yeah.
break the cycle.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we were talking about mindset. So this is a podcast about Tallahassee, and you stayed in Tallahassee. Obviously, this is one of the most unique geospheres in the entire world. And we have things here that are nowhere else on the planet.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. What are your favorite places in Tallahassee in terms of natural places? The Indian
Yeah,
Mountains,
so,
the clay. And
St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge
Yeah.
is a very revered place. It's a very spiritual place for me. I have been going there since I was a little kid. My dad and I used to go fishing there all the time, and it's just a place to go immerse yourself in the beauty of Florida. You want to carry some mosquito screen or something like that because and tick prevention. But yeah, man, it's a great place to be. Wakulla Springs is
Yeah,
beautiful,
beautiful spot.
Absolutely beautiful spot. A natural wonder. I mean, really.
true. They filmed
Yeah.
Tarzan there back in the day.
They did. Yeah, almost anywhere, all of the greenways in around here, they're
all
just
fantastic,
gorgeous.
aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at McClay State Park for the eclipse on Lake Hall.
Yeah.
Could not believe how absolutely gorgeous
Oh,
that
absolutely.
place
Yeah.
is.
I used to go there. I used to go to Lake Hall on Sunday mornings, especially on Easter, because up on the hill they would have Easter Sunday sunrise services,
Yeah.
and I wasn't necessarily there for that, but I was there for the wonder of the world. That is a beautiful
I remember
place.
going there back when I-10 was just being built, I believe.
Yeah.
You probably remember those. I remember the Whataburger next to the sheriff's department was the closest restaurant when we were kids, and we'd come to play on Sundays usually, and we'd swim in the lake.
Yeah.
That's been
So I tell you another place. It's not in existence anymore. You're talking about I-10. Back when I was 9, 10, 11, up to I guess probably almost out of high school. Let's see. Piedmont Park.
Yeah,
Not Piedmont
not
Park,
Piedmont Park's at Atlanta.
but Piedmont, Piedmont Road Plantation. Dang, I can't remember the guy's name.
it's okay.
It'll come to me eventually.
Yeah.
So there's a plantation house there. And back behind that plantation house was a little lake. And we used to go back to that lake. And there was a spring house. It ran down into a little pond there.
Wow.
And beautiful place. And I mean, we thought it was all ours, but it turns out everybody knew about it. And the owner of the plantation house there, he would catch us going back there, and he'd say, "You can't go until your parents sign a letter that says if you die on my property, it's not my fault." And so once we signed that, he was a good guy, and that place ended up being covered up by I-10. They just bulldozed it.
The spring and the lake and everything.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's what they call progress is oftentimes not real progress.
So, but it was a beautiful place. We would camp there and fish, play, have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. What about, just real quick, I'll ask you a couple more Tallahassee related. What are your favorite places in Tallahassee for entertainment?
Entertainment. So most of my entertainment is the go-kart track, and that's in Monticello. That's where I spend most of my free time. I don't really go out a whole lot at night. I listen to music at home, and but when I do, after every race, Jackie, my wife, and I go to Izzy's, and we have dinner at Izzy's, and that's our favorite place to go, just to hang out and have a decent meal.
Alex, the owner who moved out, he ran a sushi restaurant in Manhattan for some time.
Wow.
I used to go there every other day.
You're the reason I went there.
Oh, yeah. Not really? Yeah.
That's right.
Izzy's is wonderful. I like the edamame. One of my favorite things there. You ever have the edamame?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But, well, cool.
My mom came up here in, in the early 30s to go to Florida State College for Women.
Wow. Flossie-Cowell, they call it.
Yeah.
Flossie-Cowell Road, where Lake Bradford's on.
Yeah.
Which is one of the cleanest lakes around, believe it or not.
And she came up here and ended up marrying a guy from Woodville, a guy named Glenn Hannon, and they had 4 boys. Then he got, this was back in the days before antibiotics and all, and he got strep throat, and it killed him.
Wow.
So he left her with 4 kids, from 12 to in diapers. And then a few years later, my dad had been in the Army Air Corps, and he was born in Carabel, but he had been in the Army Air Corps up in out west, went to Alaska after the war, and was hitchhiking back to Carabel so he could go to South America. He was an adventurer guy.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And
That's
so
where you get that adventurous spirit from.
And so he's hitchhiking through Tallahassee. Mom saw him on the side of the road, and this was the days when, it was okay to pick up hitchhikers. And she had 4 boys in the car with her anyway. So she gave him a ride to the south side of town, and he went on to Carabel, and he came back up to visit one of his friends that lived here, and it turned out that the friend was renting a room in the house that my mom owned.
How strange. How the universe works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
When you're meant to cross paths with somebody, it seems like you keep crossing
Yeah,
paths.
and so he said, "Oh, it's you," and she said, "Oh, it's you," and not too long after that,
And how many children do they have together?
2, me and my sister.
Okay.
Yeah,
So all your other brothers are so older because they're from a different,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. My sister, she actually passed away in 2017. So, yeah, she had.
They were a lot older than you, then they're getting on up in their years.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They're not.
Although life extension seems to be happening, and people are living longer and,
Yeah.
and figuring out, what they
I
can
mean, I
do.
hope I'm around a while. I still.
Yeah, I'm not bored yet. We talked about, but, of course, my daughter Bella passed away at the ripe young age of 24 and a half.
Yeah.
But one way I deal with that is in the solace of knowing that only the good die young.
There you go.
So the 3 on this couch will probably be here for the long. But we're getting better all the time.
Absolutely.
Certainly. Through Feldenkrais and cranial sacral therapy and just communicating and talking and whatnot.
Yeah.
What do you think about a Tallahassee native who I really respect highly? Probably one of the most famous Tallahasseans, Cheryl Hines, who's married to Larry David in the TV circuit,
Yeah.
and is married to our next president, Robert F. Kennedy. And you laugh, and then all the naysayers say he can't be president because they won't let him. They killed his uncle, they killed his father. And on Aubrey Marcus's podcast, my favorite podcaster, he announced his presidency. And Aubrey asked him, aren't you afraid that they're going to kill you? They killed you. You watched them blow your uncle's brains out when you were 10 and your father when you were 14. Aren't you? And he stood up and said, I'd rather, in his raspy voice, I'd rather die for the truth than live a lie. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm convinced he's going to be the next president. He can actually make America great again. Democrats wouldn't have him. They were afraid of him. The mainstream media is afraid of him. They portray him as a nut, and he's one of those intelligent, articulate, loving human beings. He was just at a spiritual retreat. I don't know if you know this story or not, recently, and he won the overall pull-up contest among these beefy he's 66 years old. These kids couldn't beat him.
Wow.
Then in the sweat lodge, which you're probably familiar with, the sweat lodge, they pass around a bowl of water at the end. When you're dehydrated, you could die from dehydration. It's a common way people have died over the centuries. And the bowl went through his hands 3 separate times, and he didn't take a sip until every single person in the tent had a sip of water, and then he took his. That's the sign of a leader.
It is.
That's why I'm convinced he's going to be president. And I know this is not really politically placed podcast,
but here you go.
I could not help but speak the truth in my mind. And the truth is,
speak your truth.
The truth is, right now we're in a war we should not be in. You mentioned the Ukraine earlier.
Yes.
A lot of wonderful things. I met a lady from Russia the other day. At McClay, when we were going out to Lake Hall, my buddy was going to fish. I was being Ahyusca, her first boat trip. She wasn't a real big fan of being on the water. She preferred stable ground. And when she saw the lily pads on the side, she jumped out of the boat thinking that was land. Could you imagine? You can imagine her reaction when she sunk down and swam away. We got her boat. But I met this interesting lady from the Ukraine. From Russia, she said she was Russian, Irene, and we will have her on the podcast. She's a molecular biologist.
Oh, wow.
She came from the university. She was teaching at the University of Ukraine, along with, I think, her partner, or maybe her father, she said, although she's an older woman. She was teaching, and she's a molecular biologist. Can't remember his field, but we spoke briefly about the Ukraine situation, and she was well aware of the fact that there was a peace agreement on the table, that Zelensky had signed, and she was well aware of the fact that Zelensky was torturing people for speaking Russian, and that's the only language they knew, and that's the area that Putin, he's a monster, don't get me wrong, that's the area he wanted to bring back into Russia. Those people wanted to be Russian again. They just wanted it. They'd signed the agreement, and NATO, the military-industrial complex, and the people that pull Biden's strings, he's merely a puppet, said, no, you can't do that. We're going to war. We need to make more money. But anyway, life is wonderful. It really is. And we are, like I say, blessed to be in one of the most unique geospheres in the entire world. The steepheads are here and in China, nowhere else in the world. We have species of trees. We have species of salamanders that are here in upstate New York because of the microclimate created by the steepheads, and all sorts of amazing.
It's a beautiful place to be.
It really is. So we'll wrap this one up. It's been a wonderful experience and a fun time had by all, and we'll see you the next time.
Tallytales.net. We love everybody that's listening to this, as Bella did. So we'll tell a lot of Bella stories in the future. All right, stay tuned. Love y'all. Peace.